Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar, and you know, the best part about YouTube is just having the ability to speak your mind, and that's kind of how I do my channel, alright? So, as you all know, I really care about game preservation and everything, and for the first time I've actually seen the gaming industry kind of scared. You know when you're paying like big lawyers, like the lawyers that earn a big chunk of money every year to lobby for people, you know when they're actually doing their job and writing these 5-pagers, basically spreading misinformation about the actual Stop Killing Games movement, like preserving our video games, you know you're doing something right when you're pissing these guys off. So I'm going to jump into this real quick. This is Video Games Europe, one of the larger lobbying firms for, I guess, video games in general, right? Now, if you look at the board for this, all right, it's filled with people from Warner Brothers, filled with people from Epic Games, Electronic Arts, Activision, Nintendo of Europe, Microsoft, Embracer. Yeah, some of the biggest names in video games, okay? Like the people that basically are running the AAA gaming industry. You know, some of the people that make the biggest live service dog water games that, you know, we're basically trying to protect from dying, okay? There's a lot of games that come out, and a lot of times, you know, instead of, you know, writing the words rental on the game store, these guys just say you buy a copy, and, you know, at any point down the road, they can just yoink that away from you, okay? Now, if you're somebody that is okay with that, well, you, my friend, are the shiniest cuck in the room is all I'm gonna say, okay? So anyways, because Stop Killing Games got like a bunch of attention towards it, these guys wrote a massive pager, okay? Now, one of the things that I want to kind of start before one of the things I want to show you is like how bad things can be in the gaming industry. So this is from Ubisoft. This is Clause 8 termination, okay? So you know that end user license agreement? You know that giant legalese they give you anytime you fire up a modern game? Oh, you got to read through 80 pages of this legal document before you press go. You bought the game for 80 bucks, okay? 60 bucks, 70 bucks, whatever, okay? You came home, you put that disc in, you installed it, you fire up the game, and it gives you this whole reading material? Bitch, I'm trying to have fun. I ain't trying to do fucking homework. You probably press accept without reading. It's okay. A lot of us do. But in some of those EULAs, they write things like termination. This EULA is effective from the earlier of the date you purchase, download, or use any product until terminated according to its terms. You and Ubisoft may terminate this EULA at any time for any reason. So again, if Ubisoft is like, yeah, we don't want this agreement to be functional, it's gone, it's over. They can do it. So one of the things that's really funny is this EULA will terminate automatically if you fail to comply with any of the terms and conditions. Upon termination for any reason, you must immediately uninstall the product. Okay, so you downloaded a game that you bought and they terminated the EULA. You better delete it, okay? Because you signed this EULA. And destroy all copies of the product in your possession. So let's say you bought a physical disc of a game called Driver San Francisco, right? A game they don't even sell anymore. And for some reason they terminated the EULA. I imagine they would have, okay? If they stopped the game from being sold, I'm pretty sure they could terminate the EULA at any moment. You will have to take a goddamn hammer and smash that disc in a million pieces if this is to be right. Now, obviously, I don't agree with this terms of service, and just because you sign something that is so blatantly wrong shouldn't make it legal, okay? If the EULA said that they could terminate this EULA and they could send somebody to shove a dick in your ass, okay, is that a legally binding EULA? Would that fly in a court of law, counselor? I would ask. Probably not. So just because you sign something doesn't make it okay. Now, of course, this was, you know, a document from, you know, January 2023, so it ain't exactly new. But, you know, generally speaking, this kind of, like, legalese is in a lot of EULAs, and I'll be honest with you, Chief, it ain't good. So anyways, these guys finally decided to have a statement on Stop Killing Games, all right? They finally decided, you know, enough is enough. Let's talk about it. Let's have a little chat about it, all right? So anyways, I wanted to read this. So we appreciate the passion of our community. However, the decision to discontinue online services is multifaceted, never taken lightly, and must be an option for companies when an online experience is just no longer commercially viable. We understand that it can be disappointing for players, but when it does happen, the industry ensures that players are given fair notice of the prospective changes in compliance. Just because you tell me you're gonna fuck me in the ass on a specific date and time does not mean I agree to being fucked in the ass, all right?
It should just be that easy. I don't understand the argument here. We don't like the laws. That's why we want the laws changed. I don't understand how this is a difficult concept. And yes, just because it's not commercially viable, that's understandable, okay? That's why we want an end-of-life plan to be thought of. So when the game is gone, you can shut down the game, you can sunset the product, so people can play what they bought, and then we don't have to ask the big companies to spend an extra $2 to get these games up and running. We might be able to do it ourselves. So we talk about it. Private servers are not always a viable alternative option for players, as the protections we put in place to secure data, remove illegal content, and combat unsafe community content wouldn't exist and would leave right holders liable. Again, it's just another blatant lie. Nowhere in the initiative is anybody putting any of these companies liable for what happens on an off-platform private server. And there's still plenty of protections. You're telling me if Ubisoft shuts down a big MMO game like The Crew, and then the next day somebody takes it, private servers it up, and turns The Crew into hey guys, here's they just put swastikas all over that shit, you know what I mean? They just put the most unsafe game imaginable. All right, they operate the most unhinged server out there. There's all crazy types of grooming going on, all illegal shit. You're telling me that Ubisoft doesn't have any legal protections to fight against a server owner? What, they can't hit them with a DMCA? They can't hit them with a copyright strike? You're telling me they can't hit them with a little legal action? The industry is not, above that. This is not an industry that shies away from legally attacking bad people. All right, there's plenty of companies that have chased. Look at what happened with Club Penguin and its fucked up servers. There was grooming, diddling, everything going on there. You know what it took Disney? It just took their legal team a few weeks, and those servers were effectively gone, okay? It's not like they can't do anything. So what they said was these proposals would curtail developer choice by making these games prohibitively expensive to create, because they say some of those titles are actually designed from the ground up. Yeah, I get it. It would make live services a little bit difficult. And you know what? I'm going to say it like it is. Good. Wow. Guys, if you pass these laws, it might make those predatory live service games a little bit too difficult to make. Yeah, good. All right, wow, what a shot. The thing that most people in the gaming industry have been complaining about, and the only people that play these live service experiences are crazy normies that are okay with swiping their credit card nonstop into a game. This is actually good. Imagine you're a sports game player. You probably are the most to complain about this, okay? After a year or two when they remove server support for your video game, all of a sudden the sports game you bought is effectively an actual brick for the most part, okay? This is just a way for you to actually keep the game that you bought. No game deserves to die. Even though I don't give a shit about any of these live service experiences, I still don't want them to die. I'm sure lots of people care, okay? That game we talked about, Anthem? Yeah, it's a pile of shit. I agree it's a pile of dog water putrid shit. But at least people should have the option to play that dog water crap, I would imagine. Anyways, though, they wrote this 5-pager right over here where they talked about this a little bit more. So anyways, they said, this document explains the reasons why a video game company may decide to discontinue its functionalities. So online video games are interactive entertainment. Unlike a book, a film, an online video game is not static. Online video games are interactive entertainment that combine numerous elements of artistic, yada yada yada. Online games evolve over time after their initial release, providing consumers with regular new content, experiences, patches, and updates. This is highly valued by players and is required to compete in the market. It involves significant ongoing development expenditures over years, sometimes decades. Video game companies put significant investment into creating and developing the best interactive entertainment. The right to decide how, when, and for how long to make an online video game service available to players is vital in justifying this cost and fostering continued technical innovation. As rights holder and economic entities, video game companies must remain free to decide when an online game is no longer viable. Well, Okay, fine. That's great. You know what I'm asking? Either have end of life planned or just tell people that, hey, we released this game in January 2026. Now, we know that at some point in January 2031, the game ain't viable. We're going to yoink server support. Well, maybe at that point, I might not choose to buy your game. And I could imagine tons of people, if they went to a fucking store and you told them, here's your game, you pay $80. Oh, by the way, 5, 6 years later, this is when it's supposed to be taken offline. And the guy at the store is like, whoa, wait, hold on. You're telling me I give you money now and this is gone? Yeah, but you get to at least experience it for a few years. I'm pretty sure that guy might go look at another game and be like, yeah, I'll buy that one instead. You know, that one isn't going to die after 6 years, right? Wow, you know, if game companies did that, I could imagine the purchaser might think twice. Even the most brain-dead buyer may think twice before buying an actual product, right? So it will have a chilling effect on game design and act as a disincentive to make such games available in Europe. It is far from a trivial modification or a simple addition in a game development's phase. It would ignore material reputational safety and security concerns. Again, I'm asking you, how is thinking of, you know, sunsetting your game and adding an offline mode, you know, difficult? Some games do this from the start. Some games don't. Again, if the industry was regulated so that games made after the laws were produced had to actually think of end of life and not sticking a dick in our ass at some point without our consent, okay? That is all we're asking. This is an industry without any consumer protections, okay? All we want is a little bit of consumer protections. And the industry's scared because, again, if this was happening middle of nowhere Fuckistan, it wouldn't count, okay? Because they don't care. But since this is happening in like the third largest economic zone in the world, oh yeah, it's not like we can't sell our games there. Well, let's say you're designing a multiplayer game, right? There's different server solutions. You might be inclined to take a cheaper server solution, but if you think that these laws pass, there's going to be people selling, you know, server plugins that may choose to opt to create, you know, more easily licensed products that you could then use as alternatives. Look, the industry loves making money. They'll find a way to modify their licenses as long as they can get more greenbacks in their accounts. Simple as that, okay? That's what needs to happen. The industry is scared shitless right now because they actually have to provide people with end-of-life plans instead of killing a game, okay, and then telling them, hey, just buy its sequel. Get the sequel. Buy the next sequel that comes out. This is what we call planned obsolescence. Simple as that. So here's what they talk about. An obligation on video game companies to provide only a limited type of end-of-life plan is disproportionate. So they talk about things like reduced or no player protection. Again, requiring games to run on private servers would result in the inability for game companies to continue to protect players from illegal or harmful content or conduct. This is also kind of bullshit in a way if you think about it. One good example is like Valve with Team Fortress 2. You remember when that game like had its server problems like years ago where like on the official servers it was just AI bots ridden the whole time? And in some cases you would have to go to the private servers because the community would actually make the protections available so that you could play a game safer. Dude, a great example is Call of Duty, okay? World War II just got put on Game Pass. They had to remove it from Game Pass because they had an RCE exploit in the game. I was talking to my brother who was playing Black Ops 3, you know, another game that has like an RCE running inside it. Through a community patch, he was able to play the game in a safer manner than official servers. So this argument doesn't even fucking hold any weight once I realize there are actual examples of the biggest companies in the industry actually not keeping player safety in mind, even during official support of the servers, okay? So get out of here with that shit. Impact on companies, significant engineering and architectural challenges. Allowing players to run private servers would present significant engineering challenges for many games, due to the way in which such online features are integrated with other proprietary systems. Again, I get it. It sucks for you, right, to think of an end-of-life plan. But I care more about the player protections. I don't care about this industry where the budgets for games keep going higher and they care more about replacing an employee with AI down the road than anything, okay? Figure out your budgets,
but we're keeping the actual consumer protections because I care more about game preservation than the fucking like bottom line for some of these like big executives and their bonuses. Okay, simple as that. So reputational harm, allowing players to run private servers with online interaction possibly results in players using those games in ways that don't align with the company's brand values. Again, you have plenty of legal avenues to shut down private servers of video games to protect your reputational harm. And I have no issue with that. If there are servers that are advocating illegal material, like we talked about with Club Penguin, I don't care if Disney shuts it down. In fact, I expect them to shut things down like that. So erosion of intellectual property rights. Mandating game companies to keep their online games operable post official support would undermine the rights and autonomy in deciding how this IP is utilized. There's a vital interest in maintaining effective copyright protection, including protection against circumvention of technologies that control access to copyrighted video game software. Again, nobody is asking companies to maintain these video games. Releasing a server binary doesn't necessarily have to coincide with you giving up your actual, intellectual property rights. This is where they're actually just lying. Okay, there are plenty of good examples of official big companies releasing server binaries, like Valve, for instance, where people can take those binaries, host their own private servers, sometimes intermingling it with official servers through the client. This isn't a big problem. Again, I'm kind of a little bit all over the place with this kind of video, but I'm just kind of responding to some of the shit that they've offered here because I find this to be just laughable. Such a requirement could lead to community-supported versions of games competing with official versions. In what way is that actually being asked for? We're talking about end of life. End of life meaning that you, the company, has found it to be commercially inviable, so now you're gutting the game, and so basically the player base that remains can host servers at their own cost. Okay, do you honestly think that we're asking you in this initiative to release the game binary, to release like a server support for a game at the same time you've officially released it? That would be fucking stupid. We're just asking, imagine, like, just a great example, okay? Let's say Grand Theft Auto 6 drops, right? And, they have to abide by keeping their game alive. Would you honestly expect Rockstar to keep, like, GTA Online 2, like, server hosting binaries, during the time they're officially hosting? No, you expect them to release it like 10, 15 years when they want to kill Online 2. Then they can hand those out, and then the remaining player base can still run around Vice City doing their online shit, okay? In what way, even if you look at active games, like even if you look at things like 5M or something, right? How much of an impact does 5M even do on actual GTA Online? I wish the industry would provide that metric as well if they're going to make a long drawn out list like this. So they talk about importance of consumer protection laws, where they kind of talk about notwithstanding all video games offered to players in the EU are subject to those in consumer protection laws. Games are licensed to the consumer in accordance with the TOS. These set out terms upon which consumers may access and play such games and the situations in which such rights may be terminated. So for instance, right here, when they talk about transparency, players must be given reasonable prior notice. How about just give us from the beginning, right? How about just tell us right there? I'm not asking you to tell me, hey, down a year from now, we're going to be turning off the game. I at least want an end of life plan, so when you do turn off the game, we can still fucking play it. When we talk about things like reimbursement, yes, what about people that have spent hundreds of dollars in microtransactions in their favorite online game, okay? Are they going to lose their skins? Are they going to lose their shit? Is that okay? Is it okay to just take the money, basically run off with it, and basically take away a player's purchase? I mean, nothing about this shit is fair. Nothing about any of this is fair. And everything that this industry has talked about is trying to misrepresent this initiative and just take away from the fact that all gamers want, okay, all people want is that the software they buy isn't completely gutted and useless down the road. And I think that's a fair compromise to ask for. So yeah, I know that I've kind of been all over the place with this video, but I just needed to get my thoughts out because as soon as I read this, a big smile came on my face, okay? Because I got to see actual, real, proper misrepresentation from a actual lobbying firm that is, boarded by some of the biggest players in the AAA gaming space. For the first time, I've actually seen the AAA gaming industry scared because gamers are actually structuring and asking for real reform when it comes to the shit they buy. It's like, goddamn. But hey, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. And I love the discourse. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comment section below, or let me know if I'm right, okay? Keep this discourse running.
Because if it's anything that's super important about my love for gaming, it's keeping it alive in any way, shape, or form. I'm always on the side of preservation, never on the side of the big corporate entity in this case. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Anyways, I'm out.